I also had an Asian my best side was an Asian lady. Japanese, you know what they do that they did to the Japanese?
What?
They put them in internment camps in World War II. You don't think that they can't round up every person that looks like Latin in this country and stick them behind a fence? Don't believe they
Well,
can.
see, part of it is once they start, the other ones will just run the other side anyway.
Right.
The other ones that are here legally will stay here. Right?
No, they're going to throw them
they're
all
gonna
out.
throw
They
them
will
out?
throw them all out.
Oh, you mean like what they did with the Chinese?
They are pissed off. This president, the Democratic Party, the people on the left, only think of one thing: a road to citizenship. They don't want to be citizens. They don't care about it.
They don't get that. They just want the They just want the perks without.
They send the money back to Mexico.
Yeah.
They send the money back to Guatemala. As soon as times come tough, they go back to their nice places that they built with the money they made. I know Canadians that won't become citizens of this country. They send the money back to Canada and go back to Canada and live in their nice places in Canada on American money that they made. A lot of people don't want to be citizens. They just want to make the money. If they become citizens, they have to pay taxes.
So why would they want to be citizens?
That's right.
Because right now they can get free medical care. They can probably, the president was doing, so they can actually go to college if they wanted to.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about auto insurance. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff.
And see, part of it, you don't need to worry because see, part of it is since we're a sanctuary city, LA, and because they're not shipping them over, and they can get away literally almost with murder, right? They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, but
I like to be. We did talk about ways it pays to be an illegal immigrant.
But the President of the United States and the Democratic Party do not understand the American people. The American people are god-awful patient. They're a melting pot. They're from here, they're from there. But
because the nation was built on immigrants coming here.
When you push them too far, there's a point that when you push them too far, then they go on an offense. When they push them that far, they're going to round them all up. I will guarantee you that if it continues like it is and the Republicans take control, you're going to see a roundup of illegal aliens that is not going to care. But I will bet you that certain news people that call themselves Latin that are actually Jews all of a sudden be Jews again. Can't tell you which people they are, but they are. They couldn't get a job because there were too many Jews and not enough minorities to become minority members, and then had their face all over surgery to make themselves look more Latin. But no, black Americans are pissed off. Asian Americans are pissed off. Caucasian Americans are pissed off. The Latins that came here legally are pissed off. They're taking jobs from them. You're talking a little guy, that was working his way up the food chain at McDonald's to become a manager. Well, hell, I can get somebody that can actually speak Spanish to handle all the Spanish people we got to work for half your money. And then they fire them. This is how it is. You've got a nation that is boiling, that is pure and simple, that is unhappy because there is no talk among the people on the left of securing the borders. It's just the road to citizenship will stop it.
Well, see, they figure if you give them all citizenship, then you can collect tax money, and then you don't have to build a, barrier.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that the way to do it?
It doesn't work. Carter thought that this would stop the problem, so they basically let them stay in the country. They didn't become citizens, folks. Ronald Reagan thought, because Ronald Reagan is he's Midwestern and he's Western, he thought the best, the humane thing to do was to let them stay in the country, so they passed a deal. But unlike my family are American citizens, part of my family, my father was born in Germany because his grandfather was born in the United States. He was actually, the family was American citizen anyway, but he came into the country. The year after, he came from Germany over here. Actually, he was Prussian. But that's a province in Germany. They legalized everyone in the nation as American citizens. That's how Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, even though they were born in England, became American citizens. These guys were proud of the fact that they were American citizens. They were English, but they were proud of the fact here. A lot of the people that were, legalized under Carter and Reagan did not become citizens. They just became, they just vanished into the system. That's why when you see somebody, people running, a lot of, people speaking Spanish that are 60, 70 years old, and they don't speak English. It's because they never became citizens. You have to be able to speak English to become a citizen. I'll go into businesses, not only here, but in Nevada, where they don't speak a bloody word of English. Not one word of English. No habla inglés. We also go into a business where they say if you're caught speaking, if you hear anyone speaking Spanish in this business, please report it to the management and they will be immediately terminated. Immediately terminated. It's an English-speaking country and they're sitting there. First of all, they assume that everybody is stupid. That they don't speak Spanish and you can't understand them insulting you.
Yeah, that's part of it, is they insult you in Spanish. They
Yeah.
think you can't understand them.
I mean, you got to understand how many times she goes into a changing room and the people sitting back there in the back in the changing room are speaking there, insulting, the fat pig that just went in there, can't fit her fat ass in that swimsuit. Or, like you would take 2 sets of pants for that bitch. And they're insulting them in Spanish. And I'm sitting there listening to what they're saying, and, si habla español. And then all of a sudden they start speaking English. Yeah. As soon as they find out you can speak their language, they muzzle themselves.
Although, it'd be fun just to sit there and take them and then send it to their employer.
Then an employer, but the employers won't do anything. I know.
See, that's
Target people don't care because they hire them for less money. And they know okay, it is a very simple gimmick. If they have a problem, we went into a McDonald's, but I'm having dos. I'm having to try to speak Spanish.
Remember that kid? They couldn't count to 9.
Couldn't count. We went into a Del Taco, and the young Afro-American, which is basically, he's going to be a store manager someday, is basically, okay, they ordered, he's being 8 because he couldn't speak Spanish. 8! This, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8! No, 8! And then he bring out no. And then, 8, and he keeps, dos more, dos, and and they're sitting there, they couldn't speak English behind him. He's trying to speak.
They couldn't even count to 8.
They couldn't count to 8. And they're working at a Del Taco, which was not built by Latins folks. Basically, it was in Barstow, California. Non-Latin person, but the same like Tommy, big Tommy's in Southern California by a Jew, so it's not Latin food. But this is the problem. You got, like at McDonald's, but I'm going through, I wanted dos, dos mil, that's the two meal. I want dos tea, two. I'm saying, no habla inglés, and how about say habla español? I'm trying to figure out what the hell language the woman speaks. So they basically, she's looking around, manager, basically then speaking to her in whatever dialect of Spanish she spoke. Oh! And then she rings it up. But couldn't speak a word of English, and she's waiting on customers in a McDonald's. Not one blasted word of English. She didn't understand. You're sitting there, you got the meal deals. When you're having to say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And it's not just McDonald's, because we see this happen all over the place. We've seen it happen in drugstores, fast food, retail establishments.
I went into a drugstore of a major chain that basically is now folded, where on a Sunday to get stuff, and I'm basically grumping about the fact that the sales merchandise was not available, and they said, no, I have English. I want the manager. And, oh, el jefe. And then the guy comes up, and he's speaking to me in Spanish. And I go to the company, I filed a complaint with the company, and said, well, that's impossible. We would not put any, we would never do that. And then the guy comes back to me like that, oh Christ, they can't speak a word of English in this store. Because he goes in personally, and he's in charge, like what the, first thing he hit me, what the hell is going on? How are we doing business in a store in the middle of an upscale Caucasian neighborhood where they're basically, the only Latins in that neighborhood do gardening work?
Yeah. Which, guess what that means? They have no customers.
And he's wondering why the business is down. The whole store is filled full of Spanish-speaking employees. Nothing was moving. The sales stuff wasn't there. They couldn't speak English. Couldn't read the merchandise stuff. And somehow they managed to get hired, you know, because, and then how in the heck did they put a guy in as manager that couldn't speak a word of English? It means that they knew in the chain.
Well, whoever hired that manager, the manager hired people that he was familiar with, because he couldn't speak English.
Yeah, and he
hired
spoke people that he could speak to. And somebody hired him that basically wanted him to speak only Latin. Well, this is how it's coming. I mean, it's irritating to see everything you do in multiple languages in California.
Yeah.
And then it's also irritating for people that don't understand. I sprechen Sie Deutsch, como Italiano, I hablo Español, you know,
And
I
it's
parlo
just
Francais.
not the Latins, it's also the French
It's all.
that come here.
I speak different, I can translate and speak in 8 languages. So, I mean, it's my other best half. She made certain that I understood when Americans were being cussed out in 14 languages. Because she could speak more than I did. She was little tiny things, basically. You know, she'd say, you realize that they're calling you, you know, damn fils de chien, which means you damn son of a bitch. That's what the French think of Americans. And she taught me, I learned cuss words, you know, she was in the Navy. I learned cuss words in 14 different languages. And it's irritating that this is the United States of America. It is not the Republic of Mexico. It is not a parish of France. You know, it is not, you know, a parcel of España. This is the United States of America. I really get pissed off. My family came here on the boats like the people normally do. My family was born here. I finally want to put it, my family greeted all of you illegals. All of you came here without my family's permission. You know, here's one, as my grandfather said, who also played Indian in the movie, said, you know, you white people, including my grandchildren, get the hell out of my country. Because it's my country, it's not yours. The law says it's my country. You know, every time the Indians fight, the courts give them their land back. You know, but that's the way it works. I mean, Leo Carrillo, out of the kindness of his heart, he was, you know, Poncho Chico kid, gave the city of Los Angeles to the people back in the
Oh, really?
He owned the grant from the Spanish government. And basically, he owned, that's why you have Leo Carrillo State Beach, Leo Carrillo Park, Leo Carrillo this, Leo Carrillo that, because the guy owned everything and he just gave it to people. So, but how did he get it? He stole it from the Indians. And if you could find the Indian tribes, they basically killed all the Indians off through to the Indians because
Oh, so then they can't stand up.
they can't. They killed the Indians all off. The Spanish slaughtered them. But I just find it. Do not say that the American people will not kick 10 million rear ends out of this country. You push the American people enough.
They're pushing enough. You feel like they're getting ready for
You're
it.
going to have the Caucasians, the Afro-Americans, the Asian Americans. They're all going to line up and they're going to kick butts out of this country.
Actually, it'll be a uniting force.
It's going to be, the country will finally be united. You're talking, Democrats are pissed off at it too. The Democrats, the people in the middle, and they're basically, other than the people in the United States Congress, most of the Democrats are in the middle. And we're not a right of center nation, we are a center nation. The Republicans say we're right of center, the Democrats say we're left. We are a center nation. The majority of the people are like this. And when you push those people enough, you have to remember the people on the right are going to join to get rid of them and all you got is like 27% of the people over here standing up for them. I mean, how do you think they're going to stand up if they're all kicked out of office? I mean, so don't say that the American people will not throw Bill O'Reilly. They will not. They cannot possibly. Bill O'Reilly basically never read a history book, even though he's supposed to be a learned man. Geraldo Rivera. Well, American people are too kind-hearted. Well, no, they're not. We're the most mean-spirited, vindictive people in the history of this world. But we tend to be very nice until you push us too much. Remember, this country was taken. Every inch of this nation was taken. It wasn't like